Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So here's another deck profile for you guys today. So I'm bringing you guys a personal favorite of mine. This time it's on Madolche. So this is actually one of my favorite going second decks simply because it's really good at clearing boards and it's really good at just OTKing your opponent if you do all your combos correctly. And yeah, if you're just wanting to annoy your opponent with a deck that basically recurs itself frequently, this is definitely the deck for you. Madolche is, definitely one of those strategies where it may look cute, but it can be a bit of a menace. So now, one of the flaws with this deck is that it kind of loses to a lot of hand traps. The main one would probably be Nibiru, but thankfully there are plenty of cards in the deck that can help you facilitate those weaknesses. So basically, as long as you know how to push through your combos and try not to overextend, you should be able to win just fine. So yeah, just bear this in mind. And again, I do have some countermeasures to deal with, hand traps, because the right hand trap can basically just downright end your turn really quickly. But again, you should be fine so long as you have the right cards to use. So anyway, let's go and get started. So starting off with the main deck, it's 40 cards, playing 3 copies of Madolche Petting Cessor. This is probably going to be your best opener. If you have no monsters in your graveyard, you can special summon this card from your hand. And also, if this card is special summoned, you can special summon another Madolche monster from your deck and reduce its level by 1. Just bear in mind, you will be locked into Madolche monsters for the duration of the turn, but that's not too bad considering that's what this deck is. Moving on, 3 copies of Madolche. This is one of your main searchers. If there's normal or flip summon, you can add a Madolche monster from your deck to your hand. And also, they all have the gimmick: if they're destroyed by an opponent's card and sent to the graveyard, you can shuffle them back to your deck. So yeah, that's one of those things. Like, that's why it's so annoying, because they always come back. Just gotta watch out for cards like Macrocosmo, D-Fish, or anything that basically just banishes out of the graveyard. So yeah, or even Necro Valley too. 3 Angeli. You contribute this card to special summon another Madolche from your deck. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Next, 2 copies of Hoot Cake. So this card reads that if you can banish 1 Madolche or 1 monster from your graveyard and special summon a Madolche from your deck. So it's a good way just to kind of clear out your graveyard, because you don't really want monsters in your graveyard for this deck to function. So like, that's one of the things about it. So you mostly just want to get rid of like cards that you don't want to stay in there, so that way, you can't push for your plays. So, but anyway, Hoot Cake's not too bad. You mainly just need him to get you access to Messenger Lotto. If this card is, when this card is special summoned, you can add 1 Madolche spell or trap from your deck to your hand. You must control a Madolche beast monster, which again, Hoot Cake is that beast monster, to resolve. And it's not a hard once per turn either, so you can just bring out multiple copies if you want. So long as, you just gotta bear in mind that Hoot Cake is the hard once per turn. But anyway, next, 1 Pudding Cess. Definitely the worst of the bunch, but you mainly bring this off of Petting Cessor. But one thing that does come in handy is that if this card, after damage calculation, if this card battles an opponent's monster, you can target 1 card your opponent controls, destroy that target. So it's a good way just to like out certain cards. So like, let's say Imperial Order, if you could just bring this out and just like attack with it, you can just clear it out and you're good to go and just keep pushing your combos. But anyway, that's pretty much it for the Madolche monsters themselves. So let's go ahead and move on. The only real hand trap I'm running in this deck is 2 copies of Phantasme. I was playing 3, but you'll see why I decided to cut it down to 2. But anyway, I've still got a lot of Tri-Brigade players at my locals, and plus any form of deck that needs link monsters, this comes in clutch. It just helps me draw into more cards and protects me from targeting effects. So yeah, Phantasme is not too bad to consider. But the reason I decided to cut him down to 2 is because I wanted to make room for like my Kaiju package, which comes with Gamma Seal and Darla, because Bird Up is still a deck. And in fact, one player the other day was playing that deck, so yeah, gotta be prepared. And of course, decided to make room for my Pinkertops in the main, because it's just really good going second. Because if you're going second anyway, and you happen to hard draw into this, you could just special summon this out, bait out any gates by using this effect to pop, or just run over something that's pretty big. So yeah, Pinkertops is definitely not a bad card to consider. So that's my only reason to run it. And that pretty much rounds out my monsters, because I don't really want to run other hand traps, because again, you don't really want cards in your graveyard, so, or at least monsters in your graveyard. So yeah, but again, moving on to spells, 3 copies of Pot of Prosperity. You could actually get away with Extravagance in this deck too, because my extra deck is pretty much looks like something you would do with an Extravagance deck. I just like this one a little bit better because it digs 6 cards deeper into your deck, and yeah, just basically pick out anything you want. 3 Madolche Salon, which honestly I was surprised I missed the Megaton, so I'm surprised. So But yeah, definitely a broken card. It's basically double summon for this deck. You can get an additional normal summon of a Madolche monster. And if another Madolche card you control or in your grave is added back to your hand or shuffled into your main deck, you can set one Madolche spell or trap directly from your deck. So it's a good way just to get access to some of your other cards. Next, one Chateau. When this card is activated, shuffle all Madolche monsters in your grave back to your deck. All Madolche monsters on the field gain 500 attack and defense. And if monsters in your grave would be returned to the deck by an effect, you can add it to your hand instead. So Chateau is just a good way just to get some resources back. One ticket, one of the only other bricks in this deck. When a Madolche cards is returned from your side of the field to the field, or on your side of the field or grave is returned to the hand in the main deck, by a card effect, you can add one Madolche monster from your deck to your hand. If you control a face-up fairy type Madolche monster, you can special summon that monster from your deck in face-up attack position instead of adding it to your hand. So yeah, Madolche ticket, not too bad. To go along with our Kaijus, got 2 copies of Interrupted Kaiju Slumber. New additions, I finally got my hands on these, 2 copies of Triple T. So everyone should already know what this does. So when an opponent activates a monster effect during your main phase, you can either draw 2 cards, take control of a monster, or look at your opponent's hand and choose a card to shuffle back to the deck. So yeah, this card is just broken. And of course, one Called by the Grave to go with it. If I had a Crossout Designator, it would run bad, but honestly, I kind of like Triple T. It just helps you, draw into more cards, and yeah, it's not too bad. And just to go and get them out of the way for our traps, 3 Imperm, 2 Promenade. So what this card does is that you can target one face-up card your opponent controls, add one Madolche monster you control or in your grave. I'm sorry, I misread that. You target one face-up card in your opponent controls and one Madolche monster you control on either on your field or in your grave. Negate the effects of that opponent's card until the end phase, and then if you do, return your monster back to the hand. So it's just a good way just to get back some resources also, and it's also pretty good for interruption. But one thing also I like about this card is that it has a pretty neat graveyard effect. You can banish this card from your grave, then target one Madolche Xyz monster you control, attach one Madolche monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard to it as material. So it's just a good way to get some materials back as well. But overall, you mostly just want it for the negation effect, because it targets anything. So yeah, so long as it's face up. And just to round up the main deck, 1 copy of Gravedigger's Trap Ball. I am still running Trap Tricks for Felicia. That's one of my countermeasures to deal with Nibiru. So yeah, like again, out of all the hand traps, that's the one I'm most afraid of, because like I can deal with anything else so long as I got the right cards. But yeah, Nibiru is the one that hurts the most. So yeah. But anyway, that's all I got for the main deck. Let's go ahead and move on to the extra deck. So extra deck is pretty much exactly the same as I had it before. 2 Fresh to start. It requires 2 Madolche monsters, which is super easy with this deck. 3 Teacher Glass Souffle. Hold on, I'm out of focus here. There we go. 3 copies of Tiramisu. So probably one of the most broken Xyz monsters in this deck, simply because it doesn't target. You shuffle back 2 monsters from your graveyard that are Madolches, and you bounce back the same number of cards your opponent controls. So, or at least up to 2. So yeah, Queen Tiramisu, pretty nuts. And of course, 3 Pudding Sis Chocolate a la Mode, which is also just as annoying. It's not a hard once per turn either. So for those who don't know what this does, let me go and read it out for you. You can also Xyz summon this card using a rank 4, which you'll probably use Glass Souffle for this one. And of course, once per turn, you can target one Madolche card in your graveyard, shuffle it into the deck. While this card has Madolche Pudding Sis as material, when a Madolche card is in your grave, shuffle back to the main deck, except during damage step. You can detach one material from this card, special summon one Madolche monster from your deck in attack or face down defense. So yeah, it just brings out more bodies, and yeah, it's not a hard once per turn, like I said, so you can imagine where this is going. But anyway, for the other cards, 1 Rafflesia, 1 AA Zeus, and I've mentioned this against Dogmatica players, 1 Intis and 1 Omega, simply because it's just a good way to punish them, and Omega just recycles your resources. So if I need to get Intis back, why not, right? But anyway, that's pretty much it for the extra deck. Let me go and get that out of the way, and then we'll go and look over into the side deck. All right, so for side deck, because Sword Soul is now a deck, 3 copies of Token Collector. I am running 3 copies of Ash Blossom on the side, just in case if I really do need to go that route. But again, you don't typically want to run hand traps that go into the grave, or you mostly want them to be on the field like Token Collector. So I'm considering cutting the Ash and maybe going with Contact C or something, but I haven't decided on it yet. 2 Cosmic Cyclone, the Harpy's Feather Duster. If I'm forced to go first, 3 Solemn Judgment, or you can go with this card, which is actually really good this tournament too. It actually stops Sword Soul Ender tracks too. 3 copies of Gozen Match, also stops Virtual World. Let's see what else does this stop. It technically stops Tri Brigade because they have different attributes also. So yeah, Gozen Match is definitely not a bad card to consider. So definitely try it out when you get the chance, and yeah, go ahead and knock yourself out basically. But anyway, that's all I got for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will catch you guys again next time.